Welcome to the Pitcher Nail Down. I'm Jason Gilbo, JGilbo11. With me is Russell Clay at Russell J Clay. Taking a look at pitching on tonight's 11-game slate, and it's definitely kind of less than appealing. I mean, you do have some kind of quality arms, but nothing you're kind of really too excited about paying up for.
That's that. Yeah, it's kind of mediocre. I mean, it's not the worst slate we've seen, but it's also not all that appealing. And with DK, you're gonna have to do some critical thinking to make some really strong lineups, I think.
On occasion to not using critical thinking.
On occasion to having Jose Fernandez night where you just throw him in regardless of whether he does well or not.
Yeah, it's definitely a different kind of slate to deal with. And look at the first game here. You get the White Sox and Twins, Miguel Gonzalez versus Tommy Malone. And this is kind of a situation where it's an easy fade, even on tonight's slate, to where I really don't want to have anything to do with these two guys.
No, I like the offenses in this game, so I'm not really looking at either as strong options at all.
Yeah, not either. And as far as, any possible chance of an upside play, I think it's pretty lost, even though these offenses can be kind of stagnant at times.
Yeah, no, I'm not seeing much there.
Yeah. A's and Indians next year, Josh Tomlin versus Dylan Overton. And this is kind of another situation. I mean, Tomlin's price tag, I don't mind on DraftKings. It's not that bad of an option. I think you can get through it and get a quality start in and should pick up a win. So 7,800 on DraftKings isn't that bad. I'll pass at 8,600 on FanDuel. I think that's a little too high for me.
Yeah, not really in on either of these teams either. I'm okay with Tomlin, but at the same time, it's not really while the A's are bad against righties, it's not really something I'm excited to throw them into either.
Yeah, I mean, the A's don't strike out a ton. You're not really looking at a high upside game from him. I think it's just more of a quality start.
Yeah.
Kind of maybe hoping that 15 to 18 point fantasy point range. And that's probably about his ceiling tonight in this matchup.
Does he get the win? I think he has a really good shot at getting the win, but is that enough to win a tournament? That remains to be seen. I'd lean on saying no.
Yeah, I think so too. And Overton on the other side, tough matchup against this Indians team.
Yeah.
He doesn't really have enough juice or any upside for me in this matchup.
Nope.
Tigers and Astros, Justin Verlander versus Mike Fiers, and I like Verlander tonight. I think it's a solid upside play. Obviously, there's a little risk going up against the Astros offense, but 24% strikeout rate against righties, decent favorite at home. Should be backed by some quality offense and run support. So I don't mind Verlander. I like his pricing on FanDuel. I think 9,500 is definitely reasonable. DK, obviously 11.6 is a little steep, but certainly playable.
Yeah, and 24 Ks in his last 3 appearances. So it seems like he's finally figured it out. Obviously had a pretty mediocre start to the season, but strikeouts are what you find with the Astros. So they may hit you, they may get at you once or twice, but I think this is a good odds for Verlander to get, 8 to maybe 9 or even 10 Ks tonight. So I like this matchup quite a bit. I think the Tigers end up taking this one. So, yeah, a lot of good things going for Verlander.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he's a guy who I feel comfortable using in all formats, even though obviously the Astros offense does have some potential. But I
against righties, though, it is a little limited.
Yeah, definitely. And Fiers on the other side. I'm not really picking on this Tigers offense with Fiers. I think the slate's full enough for me to kind of look elsewhere if I want someone cheap.
Agreed.
Phillies and Braves next year, Jeremy Hellicksen versus Julio Teheran. And this one's interesting on both sides just because Hellicksen has been fairly solid at times. I don't mind either arm. I think Teheran's obviously the more intriguing, just getting a matchup against the Phillies. And I don't mind him in GPPs. I don't feel like he's a cash game guy for me just because I'm not quite sure the win's there. I kind of like Desclafani for 100 less, and Teheran's been a little up and down over his last couple starts.
Yeah, he has. I still think he's a viable play. Obviously, Philly's below average in everything against righties, so I do like that. You do worry about this Phillies lineup sort of getting to him a little bit, though. I don't think they're going to do a ton of damage, though. So I think he's in play at 9,500. Definitely more of a tournament than a cash guy, though.
Yeah, I'm looking more GPPs.
Yeah.
I mean, Teheran, decent strikeout rate this year, so I don't mind that. There is some upside. 23% strikeout rate. He's missed some bats. At home, obviously you got like Turner Field, so he's a small favorite. You just got to hope that Atlanta offense can get him a little bit of run support, which I'm not always in favor of them doing.
Oh, no, definitely not. Them being protected for 4 runs is like false advertising. It's like, well, maybe on a really good day they'll get 4 runs, but yeah, no, I agree with you in that sense.
And I like Hellicksen's price over here on FanDuel. 7,300. I think it's worth a look in GPPs. You just you're kind of going against the grain, and I do think Hellicksen has some strikeout upside if he has that changeup working. 11.5 swing strike percentage is pretty solid. That's up there with some of the better guys on the slate. So, I don't know. I don't mind him.
I can respect that. I don't know that I don't think I'm not in on that. I'm not in on that, Jason. But you know what? I can respect that, and I'm proud of you.
Thanks. Jaime Garcia, Colin Ray next, Marlins and Cardinals, and this one kind of a blah matchup as far as pitchers go for me. I'm not really in on it. I know Garcia is fairly cheap, but I don't know. Kind of a lot of right-handers to go up against this Marlins lineup, and he hasn't really been that great.
Yeah, tough matchup for him. I don't mind him, but I don't see the upside. And even for the price, just doesn't necessarily add up to me. You obviously have to worry about Ozuna, who hit a homer last night, Stanton, and pretty much that whole group in the middle there. So I think that's just an avoid gray area type of matchup where the upside on either side isn't really that great.
Yeah, I don't really see it. As you mentioned, you got a lot to worry about with that Marlins lineup, like Stanton, you have Prado, Real Muto. There's a lot of right-handers in there that kind of specialize in hitting lefties. So, in Ray on the other side, obviously, no need to kind of pick on the Cardinals offense.
No.
So. Pirates and Brewers here next. Chase Anderson versus Jameson Taillon, and I like Taillon in this matchup. Threw well against the Brewers last time out. He's been a tough luck loser the last 2 times, so he really should have picked up the win, but didn't in his last 2 outings. And obviously, I think there is a little bit of strikeout upside in sense of more of him trying to get to about 5 or 6. I think is doable against this Milwaukee team.
Yeah, I definitely agree. That's always in play for the Brewers, even against like pitchers that don't strike out a ton of people, kind of like Taillon's done so far. But yeah, I do think there's some reasonable upside here, and that's especially on DK. That's the type of range I look for, where it really opens up a lot of value, but it's still pretty decent upside. So he's 8,200 on DK. I like that price quite a bit.
Yeah, I do too. And you look at this team, possibility that Ryan Braun sits out of the lineup again, possibility
that'd be nice.
That Jonathan Lucroy, maybe he's, often gets traded before the the talks are heating up everywhere. Lucroy is a guy who could be gone. So you take those 2 out of the lineup. This is hardly a major league lineup anymore. So
Chris Carter becomes a little intriguing, and then it's just nothing else.
Yeah, you basically got to get through the front 2 of Gannett and Villar, and that's about it.
Right.
So Chase Anderson on the other side. I know the Pirates offense has kind of been up and down of late, slumping, but Chase Anderson is no guy I feel comfortable playing.
No. He will smile as he gives up home runs to Gregory Polanco, who I'm kind of bummed out about his price on DK, honestly. I was so excited. I saw Chase, and I was so excited, and then I saw 5,300, and I wasn't so excited anymore.
That Polanco's price has been high all year.
Yeah, super high. Oh, well.
Rockies and Mets, Jorge De La Rosa versus Bartolo Colon. Kind of a battle of 2 average pitchers. I'm not in on it, even at their cheap price tags. I think I'm kind of more in favor of actually locking in some GPP bats in this one.
Agreed. I think that's the way to go. I think we obviously look at the lefties in that Rockies lineup as sort of a nice way to go contrarian. I don't think especially based on how Vegas is sort of treating the Rockies and how they've been hitting. I don't think a lot of people are going to be on them. So I'm not in on Cologne. I kind of like going at the Rockies. And then same thing on the other side. I think there's some intriguing prices there. So I'm not necessarily looking at De La Rosa either.
No, I'm not either. And even though he's been better coming out of, really the last month or so, he's been fine. I still don't see it. I mean, 4,800, I guess you can take a deep tournament shot with him just because the Mets aren't great. I think if I was diving down below 6K, De La Rosa would probably be my preferred play out of that group.
That's fair. Again, that's fair. If you really want to punt, that is a legitimate option. To maybe get one of the more expensive stacks in.
Yeah, I think so, and that's really kind of the only way you're using. You're trying to pair him up with like a high strikeout upside. I wouldn't pair him up with the Pomeranz just because I'm not quite sure that strikeout upside's there. It would be more so with the Verlander.
Yeah, so, we'll get to him in a minute here.
Yeah. Royals and Rangers next. Martin Perez versus Ian Kennedy, and this one in that ballpark, the offenses it's kind of a stay away.
Oh, I'm excited about. Well, I feel like the Rangers have let me down quite a few. They're not quite the White Sox, but they've let me down a few times this year. But I'm excited about this matchup today for them. I think they have some pretty good prices, at least on DK. And yeah, I think same with the Royals. I just think this is one of those matchups where they pick away at Perez and end up beating him up pretty bad by the end of it.
Yeah, I think so too. And in that ballpark, I mean, relatively high totals, both near 5. It kind of an easy one to just go, nope.
Yeah, exactly.
Reds and Padres next here. Anthony Descafani versus Christian Frederick. And I like Descafani. I mean, I don't love the DraftKings price tag, but I think just in terms of the slate, I don't mind him. Small favorite, minus 127 out there in a decent ballpark. And the one thing, I mean, I was a little bit on Brandon Finnegan yesterday because of no Solarte in the lineup. They're without Melvin Upton. And obviously there's still some lefty power that's new there. But overall, I think this lineup is very beatable, and there's a lot of strikeout upside.
Oh, there's certainly a lot of strikeout upside. And yeah, like you mentioned, beyond Myers and Kemp, you really don't have that third guy now without Solarte. So I'm okay with it. I like it. He's more of a tournament guy than cash guy for me at his price. If he was 8,500, he'd probably be a little more in cash consideration. But that just kind of makes you feel a little uncomfortable, I think.
Yeah, it's definitely a price that is a little bit higher. In terms of the slate, when he is up above that range of guys like Kennedy, Gonzalez, Kazmir, it kind of just puts into perspective where, okay, I get that he's overpriced, but I think in terms of the slate, I don't mind it, just because I do feel it's a little bit safer than some of those other guys.
Is he in cash for you?
Yeah, I think he's a borderline cash SP2. I think FanDuel, it's definitely just a GPP because it's a single bullet, but yeah, I don't mind him as SP2 or kind of pairing him up with a Verlander or using him with Pomeranz or something like that.
That's fair.
Frederick on the other side, this Reds offense has really woken up, and average lefty. I know he's been okay at Petco at times, but an easy stay away.
It might be a Cozart night. I haven't said that in a long time. I don't think I've said that. That's kind of like the Irvin Santana thing the other day. It was like we hadn't talked about Irvin Santana all year. I haven't talked about Zach Cozart in like months.
It's been a while. I mean, he was a big opening day guy.
Yeah.
Like opening month, but yeah, not so much anymore.
But it might be a Zach Cozart night, I think. So yeah, no, overall, I'm just staying away from Frederick, I think.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. Next one here, you got the Red Sox and Angels. Drew Pomeranz versus Hector Santiago. Pomeranz, bounced back in his last start against Detroit, 6 innings, 2 earned, 7 Ks. Didn't get the win. I think, he has a better shot getting a win here today, given that Hector Santiago should give plenty of run support for the Sox. Obviously, the Angels aren't a high strikeout team, and we've referenced this before, but they're basically a team of 3 players, and you work around them, and you get a relatively good shot of kind of working your way through the rest of the lineup.
Right, Pomeranz, just get those 2 walks out of the way early on with Trout and Pujols, and just enjoy the rest of the lineup. I think that should be the recipe to success, right? Why wouldn't teams just walk Trout every single time?
Because he is going to steal second on you, so you are basically giving
That's
up a
true.
double.
This hulking machine of a man is gonna steal second at like 230 pounds or whatever he is. Anyway,
Yeah,
um,
I mean, he's basically Todd Gurley built.
I mean, he really is though. It's stupid. It's stupid how good he is. But in terms of this matchup, I like Pomeranz once again. He's in cash for me. Don't mind the price. 10-3 is fine with me. Obviously, you worry about Trout and Pujols, but overall, you're just not sweating this lineup at all. I mean, the back end, I just think he's going to roll right through it. So, other than Jet Bandy, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, he's our favorite now.
Yeah, I mean, the Angels, I mean, they rank in the bottom 10 in ISO against lefties. I mean, even though they do have an okay WOBA, I just don't buy into the fact that they are a good DFS type offense. I mean, sure, they might get on base. We saw this with David Price where, they did get some hits, but it wasn't anything substantial and anything that really hurt them. So I think that's going to be the case again. I don't see anything really more than 4 runs given up in this game for the Angels.
Right, exactly. Very similar to Price.
Yeah, and as far as Hector Santiago goes, I think it's an easy fade. You're probably looking to target some of these guys here.
No, yeah, and especially it depends on if Ortiz plays or not, but I'd be super intrigued with Hanley hitting 4th for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he's my preferred from this lineup.
Yeah.
So I think it'll be a tough go for Santiago.
Mm-hmm.
Dodgers and Diamondbacks here. Scott Kazmir versus Braden Shipley. And I'm not necessarily buying Scott Kazmir tonight, even though Vegas is.
I learned my lesson with this once. Yeah, I don't think Kazmir's the type of guy that you trust in a cash sense anymore. Even in good matchups like this, it is a good matchup, but he also had that good matchup against the Padres where he went 3 innings, allowed 3 earned, and 6 hits. And that was fairly recent. So it is a weaker Diamondbacks team without Jake Lamb, but at the same time they still have the righties at the top there. So I'm not necessarily in on going at Kazmir here.
Yeah, I mean, for me, this is
going at the Diamondbacks here.
Yeah, I mean, for me, this is just too tough of a matchup for Kazmir, who's been very average. As you mentioned, I mean, no Lamb, but you still have guys like Segura, Goldschmidt, Ricky Weeks, Wellington Castillo, Yasmani Tomas. All those guys really handle left-handed pitching very well. So, obviously, it's Dodger Stadium, but, I mean, we saw this last night where, it was 15 runs between the two of them. So, it's not always, a thing where, okay, Kazmir's pitching at home. He's kind of better there. It's just too tough. I don't like the price. I like prices of other guys around them, and I like actually taking Diamondbacks against them.
That line and projected run total is really weird. But I just don't trust it. Honestly, I mean, I just don't trust it. So that's that.
Yeah,
he's still a tournament guy. I think you can mess around with that in a tournament, but it's not something you look at in cash or anything like that.
No, definitely not a cash game guy. And for me, I mean, I can't see myself using him at all. I mean, it's just way too
86 tough. 86 on DK. That's not bad. You're not using him on FanDuel, obviously, but as an SP2 in a tournament now?
I don't know. It's
all right. Yeah, you're not in. You're not in.
I'm not in on Kazmir. I mean, it's just when Goldie hits a homer off of him and then Weeks follows it up with another one, I'm just going to be like, you know what? I knew it.
No, I agree. I just think he has shown a little strikeout upside of late, and while he's super inconsistent, I think it's a tournament play.
Yeah, I mean, strikeout upside, it could definitely be there. I mean, Arizona does strike out quite a bit, and Kazmir has dialed it up, and we saw that against the Rockies a few starts ago. So that possibility definitely is there. I guess my hopes of that hitting is probably far lower than what it would be.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Shipley, on the other hand, not a guy I'm looking to using. That's an easy one. No one to really consider against this Dodgers offense that's kind of coming around.
Yeah, no, you're not. You're starting to become really afraid of that middle of that order there. So I think we're avoiding that for now.
Yeah, definitely. That's going to wrap things up here with the pitcher nail down. Be sure to check out DaveFantasyCafe.com for all great tools and content.